Hi, this is your host. Today we're going to learn about the first hero of faith in our series, and that is Abraham, and his story is found in the book of Genesis. We have a lot of stories in the Bible about heroes of faith. They are people who lived long ago and did great things for God. We can learn many lessons from their stories. In today's episode, we will meet a hero whose name was Abraham. But before we start, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe and like our videos. Also, remember to comment below after watching this video. We would love to hear what you think. Abraham is one of the most important heroes of faith mentioned in the Bible. He is called the father of many nations and the friend of God. Abraham was born in a place called Ur of the Chaldees. He lived a very long time ago. When Abraham was still a young man, God told him to leave his home, his family and friends, and go to a new land. This land later became known as Canaan. At that time, Canaan was ruled by many different kings. There were no righteous people in the land, and God wanted to choose Abraham and his descendants to bless them and make them into a great nation. But Abraham had to be willing to leave everything behind to follow God and obey his voice. And that is what Abraham did. After he left his home, he wandered around in the wilderness with his family for 10 years. It must have been scary for him because he didn't know where he was going or what would happen next. But Abraham trusted God, and that made him a hero of faith. Even when he didn't understand God's plans or why he was being asked to do something, he still obeyed God. God promised Abraham that he would have many children, even though he and his wife Sarah were old and could not have children. God also promised that through Abraham's descendants, all the families of the earth would be blessed. One day, while Abraham was traveling, he came to a land that was very dry and had no grass or food. He noticed that his wife, Sarah, was very thirsty. So he prayed to God for help, and God showed him that there was a well of water hidden nearby. Abraham dug down into the ground until he found the well, and it had fresh, clean water. Then he named that place Beer-lahai-roi, which means the well of the living one who sees me. Because Abraham believed God would keep his promises, he continued to trust in God and walk with him even during difficult times. Later, a famine came to the land, and Abraham had to go to Egypt to find food for his family. In Egypt, he met the Pharaoh, who invited him to stay in the land. The Pharaoh gave him everything he needed, including food, gold, and silver. However, Pharaoh's wife was jealous of Sarah and told the king that Sarah was very beautiful. The Pharaoh wanted Sarah to become his wife. So he took her away from Abraham without telling him anything. When Abraham realized that Sarah had been taken, he went to God in prayer, and God told him that he had heard Pharaoh's plans. God warned Abraham not to do anything because he would protect Sarah and return her to Abraham. Early the next morning, God sent a group of angels to Pharaoh. They caused him and everyone in his household to wake up with sores all over their body. The Pharaoh was very scared when he saw what had happened. He immediately called for Abraham and returned Sarah to him. Abraham and Sarah were very grateful to God for protecting her and keeping his word. Abraham even offered a sacrifice to God and praised him for his power and righteousness. Sometime later, God spoke to Abraham again. He told him to leave the land of the Pharaoh and settle near Jerusalem. Abraham traveled to the land of Canaan and built an altar for God. One day, 3 visitors came to see Abraham. He welcomed them and treated them as honored guests. He washed their feet and gave them delicious food. Abraham ran to tell Sarah that they had visitors and to prepare some special bread and cakes. But Sarah was very upset. She didn't want to welcome these strangers. Why? Well, because she was too old to have a baby. And when she heard that Abraham had welcomed these strangers, she started to laugh inside herself. She thought it was impossible to get pregnant now. But Abraham insisted that she should welcome the guests and make sure they were comfortable. And here is what the strangers said to Abraham. One of the men said that Sarah would have a son in 1 year. And when Abraham and Sarah heard this, they couldn't believe it. They were too old to have a baby. So once again, they both laughed, thinking it was impossible. But one of the men was actually an angel of God. He told them, "I am the one who spoke to you." Surely if Sarah's laughter has been so loud that it reached God, then he will certainly do what he has promised. And as a result, Sarah conceived and gave birth to a son when she was very old. When the baby was born, Abraham named him Isaac, which means laughter. Many years passed, and Abraham and Sarah grew old. But one day, God told Abraham that he would ask a great test. God told Abraham to take his son Isaac and go to a place called Moriah and offer him as a burnt offering. To Abraham, this was very hard to do because he loved his son very much. But Abraham trusted God, So he got ready and started his journey. When they arrived in Moriah, Abraham built an altar and laid Isaac on the altar. Then he took a knife to kill his son. But before Abraham could do anything, an angel of God stopped him. The angel said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything at all to him. For now, I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld from me your son, your only one." Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. So he went over and took the ram, offered him as a burnt offering instead of his son. This is a story that teaches us to trust God even when we don't understand his plans. Abraham was a true hero of faith because he never gave up on God's promises and he always obeyed God, even when it was difficult. Many years after Isaac was born, Abraham's brother gave birth to twin boys, Jacob and Esau. When they were grown up, Isaac told Jacob that one day he would receive the special blessing that was promised to Abraham's descendants. However, Jacob was not the oldest, but the younger twin, so Esau wanted the blessing, and he tricked Jacob to get the special blessing from their father. Although Jacob wasn't supposed to deceive his brother, he received the blessing because he was the younger twin. Later, when Esau learned what had happened, he was angry. He wanted to kill Jacob, so Jacob had to run away from home. When Jacob left his father's house, he came to a place where an angel of God was waiting. The two wrestled all night until daybreak. Jacob wanted to know the angel's name, but the angel refused to tell him. Instead, the angel touched Jacob's hip so that he could not walk properly. Jacob asked again, and the angel finally told him his name was Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. The angel then blessed Jacob and gave him a new name. After wrestling with the angel, Jacob continued his journey and came across a small village. There he met a man who introduced himself as Laban, the son of Bethuel. Laban had two daughters, Leah and Rachel. Jacob liked Rachel very much and asked Laban if he could marry her. Laban agreed and said that Jacob could marry Rachel after working for him for 7 years. But when the time came, Laban tricked Jacob and married his older daughter, Leah, to him instead. After that, he told Jacob that he would give him Rachel as his wife if he worked for him for another 7 years. Again, Jacob worked for 7 years and loved Rachel very much. But soon after he married her, she became jealous of Jacob's love for their maid Bilhah, and she gave her maid to Jacob as a concubine. Then God spoke to Jacob and said that he knew how unhappy Rachel was. God said that he would bless Rachel so that she could have children. Soon after, Rachel became pregnant and gave birth to Joseph, and later she gave birth to Benjamin. Then God told Jacob to return to the land of Canaan because his father Isaac was very old and he didn't have much time left. On the journey, Jacob's large family grew even larger, and he became very rich with many flocks, herds, and camels. When Jacob arrived in Canaan, he saw that his brother Esau was waiting for him with a large group of soldiers. Jacob was afraid because he thought that Esau wanted to hurt him, but God told Jacob not to be afraid. The two brothers embraced each other, and Jacob stayed in Canaan for 18 years until he died. Before he died, he blessed all his sons and predicted great things for their future. Jacob's descendants became known as the children of Israel, or Israelites. They became a nation of people who followed God and believed in his promises. All these stories teach us to trust and obey God, just like Abraham did. Thank you for listening to the story of Abraham, the first hero of our faith. I hope you enjoyed the story. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like and share. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications about our latest videos. God bless you.